India's fourth recession since independence, the first since liberalization, and perhaps the worst to date, is here. The economic impact of the 2020 coronavirus pandemic in India has been largely disruptive. The World Bank and rating agencies had initially revised India's growth for fiscal year 2021, with the lowest figure India has seen in 3 decades since India's economic liberalizations in the 1990s. However, after the announcement of the economic package in mid May, India's GDP estimates were downgraded even more to negative figures, signaling a deep recession. On 26 May, CRISIL announced that this will perhaps be India's worst recession since independence. State Bank of India research estimates a contraction of over 40% in the GDP in Q1 FY21. Outcomes have been sharp rise in unemployment, stress on supply chains, decrease in government incomes, collapse of the tourism industry, collapse of the hospitality industry, reduced consumer activity, plunge in fuel consumption, rise in LPG sales. Within a month, unemployment rose from 6.7% on 15th March to 26% on 19 April. During the lockdown, an estimated 14 crore people lost employment while salaries were cut for many others. More than 45% of households across the nation have reported an income drop as compared to the previous year. The Indian economy was expected to lose over rupees 32,000 crore, US dollar 4.5 billion every day during the first 21 days of complete lockdown, which was declared following the coronavirus outbreak. Under complete lockdown, less than a quarter of India's $2.8 trillion economic movement was functional. Up to 53% of business in the country were projected to be significantly affected. Supply chains have been put under stress with the lockdown restrictions in place. Initially, there was a lack of clarity in streamingly what an essential is and what is not. Those in the informal sectors and daily wage groups have been at the most risk. A large number of farmers around the country who grow perishable also faced uncertainty. Major companies in India such as Larsen and Toubro, Bharat Forge, Ultratech Cement, Grasim Industries, Aditya Birla Group, BHEL and Tata Motors have temporarily suspended or significantly reduced operations. Young startups have been impacted as funding has fallen. Fast moving consumer goods companies in the country have significantly reduced operations and are focusing on essential. Stock markets in India posted their worst losses in history on 23rd March 2020. However, on 25th March, one day after a complete 21-day lockdown was announced by the Prime Minister, Sensex and Nifty posted their biggest gains in 11 years. The Government of India announced a variety of measures to tackle the situation, from food security and extra funds for healthcare and for the states to sector-related incentives and tax deadline extensions. On 26 March, a number of economic relief measures for the poor were announced, totaling over rupees 170,000 crore US dollar 24 billion. The next day, the Reserve Bank of India also announced a number of measures which would make available rupees 374,000 crore, US dollar 52 billion to the country's financial system. The World Bank and Asian Development Bank approved support to India to tackle the coronavirus pandemic. The different phases of India's lockdown up to the first unlock on 1 June had varying degrees of the opening of the economy. On 17th April, the RBI governor announced more measures to counter the economic impact of the pandemic, including rupees 50,000 crore, US dollar 7 billion special finance to NABARD, SIDBI and NHB. On 18th April, to protect Indian companies during the pandemic, the government changed India's foreign direct investment policy. The Department of Military Affairs put on hold all capital acquisitions for the beginning of the financial year. The Chief of Defence Staff has announced that India should minimize costly defence imports and give a chance to domestic production, also making sure not to misrepresent operational requirements. On 12 May, the Prime Minister announced an overall economic package worth rupees 20 lakh crore, US dollar 280 billion, 10% of India's GDP, with emphasis on India as a self-reliant nation. During the next 5 days, the Finance Minister announced the details of the economic package. 2 days later, the Cabinet cleared a number of proposals in the economic package, including a free food grains package. A large part of it, or as much as rupees 8.04 lakh crore, is additional liquidity injected into the system by the Reserve Bank of India through various measures in February, March and April. Most economists are unanimous that in the current financial year, India's economy will contract. The difference of opinion is only about the extent of this contraction. The range varies between -4% to -14%. Many economists are of the opinion that after hitting rock bottom this year, the economy will start its recovery in the next financial year 2021-22. Given the weakness of the economy going into the COVID crisis as well as the less than adequate fiscal stimulus, India is likely to end up with an elongated U-shaped recovery.